I use the time to quickly introduce myself. So I'm Benedikt, co-founder, CEO of Cansativa. Cansativa was founded 2017 from a background. I studied industrial engineering and management and started my career for quite some years in strategy consulting. Today, we'll be talking about the distribution of German-cultivated cannabis for the German market on behalf of the Cannabis Agency. I actually would like to kick it off with a very short overview why actually this program of German cultivation was established. Second, how the whole program is structured. And then third of all, you get a lot of answers on facts, figures, and the whole framework. So let's kick it off with the why. So in March 2017, there was the liberalization and legalization of medical cannabis in the German market. And during that time, the legislator already identified the need that beside of imports, there would be a further supply source necessary to actually tackle 5 key topics. First of all, to get some more supply security, especially at the beginning, 2017, 2018, 2019. There were a lot of, let's say, struggle also in the global supply chains of medical cannabis. Second, it is important, or it was important, to also get some independency of imports, but which leads us actually to the third and fourth point, which is that additional high-quality product that is grown in Germany should be available for German patients and doctors that could prescribe this product. Last but not least, prevent home growing. It's also an important topic when it comes to the whole program, why it was established, because there was actually the legislator to really prohibit this possibility for patients within Germany by actually offering a cultivated cannabis flower in Germany. Yeah, and then last but not least, a topic which is very important for the insurers and also for self-payers is the topic of competitive prices, which was also, when we talk about the tender process, both of the cultivators and of the distributors, an important topic in those tender processes. So with this very little introduction of how, of why there is a German medical cannabis program for the cultivation domestically, I'd like to have a quick look with you on the how and who are actually the players that are involved in this program. You can really break it down to 3 parties. One, or the first one, are the contract manufacturers, the cultivators. Those are 3 companies, which won in a tender process, what we'll talk about in a second. Those 3 companies are the Afria RX company, Aurora, and Demican, and they actually produce medical cannabis on behalf of the of Germany. And here you have the Cannabis Agency, which is part of the very popular BfArM, and they act as the legal manufacturer and the contracting entity, which means they are buying, they are purchasing product from the cultivators. So the owner of the medical cannabis that is cultivated in Germany is Germany. So it's not the cultivators, it's not us as the distributor, but it's the state. And it's important to understand that we are talking here actually about a time and quantity limited contract, so a really straightforward kind of purchase agreement. Let's try to be as simple as possible. And then, last but not least, me as representative of Cansativa, we're the exclusive distributor of this cannabis that is cultivated within Germany. But important, we're not the owner. We are acting here as a service provider on behalf of Germany. So let's look at these 3 key stakeholders for a moment. So I know yesterday there was already Demekan here with a presentation, but I'd like to emphasize and outline some of the key topics here maybe again. First of all, it is always and often said that the cultivators hold licenses for the cultivation. I would say license is probably not the right word for it. As I said, they won a tender process and they are contracted by Germany, meaning for a time and quantity, it's a time and quantity limited supply contract, 4 years with concretely outlined volumes that we'll deep dive in a second. And which is important, this cannabis is only available and exclusively for medical purposes. So there's actually no way around this. And last but not least, as already discussed, the cultivators are a contract manufacturer on behalf of Germany, and the supply prices played during the tender process a role. They were probably not the only decision point why those 3 cultivators won the tender process, but prices played a significant role. When we now look into the role of the Cannabis Agency, there are some more details what we already looked at. First of all, what is their task? They control the cultivation, the harvesting, the processing, quality testing, storage, packaging, and the distribution. But important is the word control. So what they don't do is that they cultivate, store, or do any logistics directly. So it's not carried out by BfArM or itself. It is, on the one hand, conducted by the cultivators, on the other hand, by a distributor, which is Cansativa. Also important, Cannabis Agency is the owner of the product, so they set actually the cannabis price. What is the price to the pharmacies? I know this is a super hot and interesting topic, but which is also important to understand is that the Cannabis Agency is not or won't make any profit on this business. So at the end, it is a supply price, it is some expenses which are within the Cannabis Agency. There's a certain service fee for Cansativa, and at the end, it adds up to a certain supply price. Well, and then already discussed and covered our role. We are the exclusive distributor of medical cannabis from domestic cultivation. Any German pharmacy can order domestic cannabis at Cansativa. Soon, I can't talk about the concrete timelines, so I know this is also a hot question. You won't get any answer from me today. And we are fulfilling those orders on behalf of the Cannabis Agency. So now I hope we understood a little bit of the why and of the how, and now we're talking about the what. So what is actually the volume? Who are, again, the key players, and what are the different product types? Because we need to understand that there are different product types. We need to understand the different volumes, and then we'll later on also look into the addressable market and whether this is in line with the volumes that are produced within Germany or not. Yeah, so first of all, 2.6 tons per year is the total amount that can be produced, cultivated in Germany. One important message is that it is actually possible 150% of this can be cultivated if the Cannabis Agency would purchase those products. So we're talking about 2.6 tons up to 3.9 tons per year. And we're talking about a 4 years period. It is also already public knowledge that probably not all cultivators will start the production of the products at the same time. So this 4 years is maybe 5 years, maybe 4.5 years. Let's see how everything goes over the next few months and years. Meaning 10.4 tons in total, 150% would be 15.6 tons in total. Please remember those figures because they'll be important in a second. There are 3 different types of products, type 1, type 2, type 3. The type 1 is the typical high THC medical cannabis flower. Type 2 is a medium THC potency cannabis flower, and type 3 is a balanced product. The different cultivators have different lots and have different allowances on how much of those products they can be produced. And this is something what we'll also look into in a second. But before we do that, I'd like to give you a very brief overview on the milestones and also again on the background of the domestic medical cannabis program, and then also some very brief facts on the German market, because without that, it's probably hard to talk about the addressable market of domestic cannabis and imported medical cannabis flowers. So first of all, March 2017, everyone probably in the room knows that the Cannabis Gesetz actually ruled out the legalization of medical cannabis in Germany. There was in April 2017 the first public tender process on the cultivation of medical cannabis, which was then cancelled in March 2018 before it again started in a second new public tender process for domestic cultivation. This was ended and the 3 winners were announced in April 2019. There were 79 bidders, so congrats to the 3 companies, to the cultivators who made the race. It's probably a very good and great achievement. And then in February 2020, the tender process of the distribution of the domestic cannabis kicked off and started. And the winner was announced in August 2020. Here it was 18 bidders, where we as Cansativa were awarded as the exclusive partner of BfArM. Second half of 2021, start of sales. That's again the only timeline that you get from me today. I know it's a very interesting topic, but I, as I said and mentioned, won't give you any more than that. Let's, as I said, have a quick view at the market, at the pharmacy revenues, and then the German market for medical cannabis before we deep dive into the product portfolio of the cultivators. So when we look into the medical cannabis market, we see that on pharmacy level, there were in the last year round about 200 million euros of pharmacy revenue that was generated from medical cannabis. If you compare that to the total pharmacy revenue, it's just ridiculously small. Can you somehow say 54 billion can be substituted by medical cannabis? Absolutely not. But it shows you there's a lot of potential. And so far, also for the insurances in Germany, medical cannabis did not play a significant role. 200 million out of 54 billion is nothing. When we drill down a bit into the medical cannabis pharmacy revenue, you will definitely ask, or would definitely ask me, how many patients are there? What are the numbers of prescriptions? And that's why I brought some of those facts here, most of them for the last year. Over 90,000 patients in 2020. Obviously, there are different figures in the industry. Some would say it's rather 120, others would say another 150,000. I would be always assess that a bit more conservatively, meaning there are at least 90,000 cannabis patients for the last year. Over 300,000 prescriptions for the first half of 2020. Market size here, 150 million. As I said, you can round it up to 200 million. And as of even this month or until now, 100% of the cannabis flowers are imported products. So from Canada, from Portugal, from Denmark, and so on and so on. No domestic cannabis is and was available in any German pharmacy so far. Pain patients are the most significant patients, or the biggest group of patients that get medical cannabis prescribed. And the revenue of the whole medical cannabis market for the last year was almost 50%. We see some movement here, significant movement here. So this might change, especially when the extracts market gets more and more relevant. But we're today focusing very much on the flowers market. Yeah, last but not least, significant market growth, but for a market that started in 2017, growth rates are just not really worth it to talk about. That's why we have another view into the market from a different angle. So what you see here is that in 2017 you had round about 1.2 tons of imported flowers, which grew into 2020 at 9.2 tons. Those are obviously significant growth rates, but which is important now and is something where at least our assessment, our estimation comes in, is if we have an outlook into this year and into the next year and the year afterwards, domestic cannabis will be relevant and the total medical cannabis flowers market will continue to grow. Those figures are our assessment, so everyone might have a different view on it. I believe 12.5 tons within this year as a total addressable market is realistic. For the next few years, we would expect 16 or even 19 tons in 2023. But the key message here, and this is what I'd like to outline, is that domestic cannabis will play a significant role of 14% probably market share if we just take the 2.6 tons into consideration. If we take the 3.9 tons into consideration, we might end up at even 20%. However, important here is there's still 80% left for anyone who'd like to import products into the German market. And this is good news for everyone also here. It's a great market with a lot of revenue potential. However, we also need to understand how those volumes of the domestic cannabis and this product portfolio looks like. So if you look into the official tender process papers, you'll find those figures as well. Afria will have a 200 kg of type 1 of high THC flowers, 400 kg of the medium THC flowers, and 400 kg of the balanced flowers available. Second, Aurora would offer 1,000 kg of the high THC flowers, and last but not least, Demecan with a split of 400 to 200. Obviously, those are figures from the official public tender process. Some product splits might be subject to change, but this is what you get from the official side here. Totaling 2.6 tons. And what I've did here is kind of to compare that to the addressable or to the market demand as of today. And if you look into the cannabis medical flowers or the medical cannabis flowers market, you see that the products with a very high THC potency make most of the market. To give you a rough estimation, I would assess around 80%, and another 10% would be balanced products, and another 10% would be medium THC product. So what is the message here? Product portfolio of the Cannabis Agency that will be available is more or less in line with the current market demand although there is at least some, let's say, gap. You see here 62% versus 80%. You see 23% versus 10% and 15% versus 10%. But more or less, I would say it's not too far away. And as everyone knows, the market is very volatile, so things might also change. Yeah, so last but not least, a very brief summary of this presentation for all of you. Why is there a medical cannabis program of domestic cultivation in Germany? To just re-emphasize supply security, independency of importers, additional high-quality products, prevention of home growing, and competitive pricing. How and who are the key stakeholders? What is the framework? You have 3 cultivators, Afria, Aurora, and Demecran. You have a legal manufacturer, the purchaser of this product, which is the Cannabis Agency, the BfArM, so Germany. And you have an exclusive distributor of domestic medical cannabis, which is Cansativa. And then, as we discussed, 2.6 tons per year, important figure, you should remember that, as well as the 10.4 tons in total. And we're talking about 3 different product types. So there won't be another or additional product types available, as it was a public and conducted and finalized tender process. Well, I'm getting to the last slide here. I'd like to thank you for your attention. And it was really a great pleasure to kick this day off with a short overview on domestic cultivation or on the distribution of domestically cultivated medical cannabis. And I'm very happy to, when you have questions, just reach out to me. There will be also a roundtable discussion later on. So join me, happy to discuss. Thank you.